What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another segment of AV Automatic Victory, where we all win together through peace, love, and transparency. So, I want to thank everyone that attended to my couple of my last few podcasts of Matters of the People, as this is going to be a special Matters of the People podcast episode where we are going to address one of the biggest issues and the biggest topics that are currently going on, not just within our country, but also worldwide as well: criminal justice reform. We're going to talk about everything in regards to this topic. We're going to talk about the problems with law enforcement. We're going to talk a lot about what's going wrong with the law and order aspect. So, due process, do we need to make some adjustments? Or whether criminal, or the biggest question of them all in this episode, which is going to be, is there a perfect sense of us actually getting a criminal justice reform in the United States of America, particularly since, we talk about this issue for, who knows, ever since we were little, like young kids. And obviously there definitely needs to be some change that needs to occur. But there's just, to me, it just seems like we haven't really made that much progress when it comes from, criminal justice reform, not just within the state and local level, but also within the federal government level as well. So hopefully my special guest for this episode will be one of my best friends of all time. Hopefully we can actually get him into this podcast as well. So that way, you guys won't just be getting my input, but you'll actually be getting some input from a person who has actually gone about, or at least has gone through the process of being in the police academy. If he's willing to, tell us that particular information in regards to what it was like being in the police academy, what exactly are they training, officers nowadays, as opposed to some of the training techniques that they are actually currently doing it now. Because I do feel like that it is a little bit of a difference in terms of it. It varies depending on state by state, district by district. But I would really, really hope that regardless of what police academy it is, that they're training these officers not to just train them on, if you see a black person, shoot them down or beat them up, or the case may be, because that's, that ain't gonna hold y'all. That's what it's been feeling like to me. That's what it's been feeling like to me. So first, we're going to go and I will get the introduction video going on, and then I will definitely try to see if I can get my guest speaker into the podcast as well. So let me go ahead and start that intro video right now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Automatic Victory, where everyone is a winner within where everyone wins, where we all win together. Oh Lord, I'm over here tripping. Welcome to Automatic Victory, where we all win together through peace, love, and transparency. Shout out to the one person that is currently into the live stream. Thank you so much for hopping on to the live stream. I do appreciate your patience, and I definitely appreciate you being on here on time as well. Much more earlier than me. So I definitely appreciate it. So what I am going to do, I am going to let my guest speaker hop on here. So if you guys can give me 1 second and have him hop on into my live. All right. Shit. All right. So just sent the personal link to my guests. So while we wait, while we wait for our guest speaker to come on into the podcast, I'm going to tell you my personal issues in regards with our current criminal justice system. So obviously, the biggest issue, well, one of the biggest issues with our criminal justice system is that it's particularly designed to essentially catch up with a certain quota or quotas in terms of, police departments making their money. It's more so just focused on the benefits of being an officer rather than focusing on, protecting civilians, making the community feel more safer, protecting people in general. Now, that's not to say that all people that work in law enforcement or that all people that work within the criminal justice system are bad, because criminal justice, that particular department, is so broad. A lot of people that go into criminal justice, they don't just get the degree from from a prestige school and they go and say they want to be a cop or they want to be an investigator. Sometimes it might just be a simple fact of they might end up being a lawyer, or they might actually end up being a private investigator. So there are a lot of careers that I feel like not a lot of people actually know in regards to criminal justice. But when the problem with our current criminal justice system in the United States is, just simply put, there's not enough trust. And part of the reason why there's a lack of trust, particularly with our criminal justice system, mainly through enforcement and through patrol officers and just cops in general, is because, let's talk about it. Not a lot of people want to talk about how policemen or enforcement was actually started, which was really originated from slavery. Even before slavery, there was always some type of authoritarian enforcement that was kind of set in place to keep a lesser group of people to be in line, or to keep them in check, or the case may be. So when you have a system that is distinctively deciding to create a certain unit that is not only going to be the ears and eyes for the elites when they can't pay attention to everyone, and then on top of that, you bring in race into that equation, and it makes sense in terms of why there's so many races, particularly Black people like myself, that do not trust the criminal justice system, that do not trust, hey, we can't trust every single cop, whatever the case would be. Give me 1 second. I think this is my guest speaker calling me.
Yeah.
Hey, hello?
What's good? Can you hear me, bro? Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well. So I just got on my laptop. My phone. I had the Zoom mentality. I thought I could do it on my phone.
Oh, no. You good, man. You good, man. You all good. I just started, so go ahead and take your time on the laptop. It is perfectly fine.
Got you.
It is perfectly fine.
If I get to display names, I'll put your name down, or your name for in-person at the broadcast studio.
Yeah. So you would just put whatever name you want to be for your display name, and then I should see you once you click the next button, and I'll just bring you right into the podcast, man.
Got you. All right. Into studio.
Okay, I see you. I see you, man. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my prestigious guest, one of my best friends in the whole entire world, Mr. Chief Marco. What it do, baby?
What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you? I am just glad and blessed that you are actually able to hop on my Matters of the People podcast. So I appreciate you, my brother. Before we get on down into the nitty-gritty of this topic, let the people know a little bit about yourself, whatever information that you want to share with our guests, or for the people that will probably most likely watch it once we get done with the podcast. But definitely let the people know a little bit about yourself.
All right. What's up, world? As you can hear, Chris, I'm like his best friend out there. We come from good old times. I'm college educated, have a bachelor's degree. And before I basically hopped in the video, trying to learn on how to get in this video, I heard him talking about like police reform. He mentioned about me being like in the police academy. And I'll tell you guys about the experience, the mindset differences, what I really witnessed in the academy, but a little bit more about myself. Just a fun, laid back person, working hard, and just love traveling. So yeah, definitely down to earth. Definitely, I just do a lot. Just a hardworking young man, just trying to make it.
Right. Well, we definitely appreciate you for hopping on here because I know you are a busy man. So, we're not going to be up on here too long, but I do appreciate you taking the time and actually hopping on here and letting the people know.
Give me 1 second.
Obviously. Okay, yeah, do it then. But while we wait for Mr. Brown, return. Oh, wait. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, sometimes like this thing can be very sensitive. So it's like I warn people that this will definitely be the problem. So bear with me about that.
Oh, yeah. No. You're good, man. You are definitely good. You are definitely good, man. Because that's sometimes this internet will mess up around here too. But no, like I was saying, I definitely appreciate you, being willing to take some time to hop onto my podcast. Especially on this unique topic where, we're always talking about criminal justice reform. We've been talking about criminal justice reform all the way back when it came to like the 1950s with the unfortunate event of Emmett Till, way even earlier towards like the late 2000s, or at least prior to 2010 with, say a perfect example, just any particular case, especially with an innocent, unarmed African-American male or African-American woman, this topic ends up, coming up. And so what I wanted to talk about, well, not just with you, but just with the people that are, watching this podcast as well, is what, in your opinion, what are some of the current issues that are going on with our criminal justice system? So let's just start there. What are some issues? Because I know, like, as you've told me, numerous times that you have gotten into some certain elements when it comes to like criminal justice system. So in your opinion, do you feel like it's just not just, in terms of the training or how they go about the selection process, how that whole process goes about and all that good stuff?
Well, coming from a guy who was in the police academy back in 2017, I was with MPD, which is DC police. So every agency, every police department in this whole world is different. So to be honest with you, the way that MPD train, the police officers' mindset, they train them as to treat people equally, and no matter what race they are, no matter their background and stuff, they train people to treat them equally. But I do hear that other departments, I'm not going to say such, but it's a surrounding jurisdiction agency, just outside the DC area. I heard and I heard on the news that they had racially trained the police recruits. And it was pretty offensive to people of color. Like I remember hearing on the news one time, I forgot. Let's just say it had a person of color, just a color, showing a color like a black person at a gun range. That was racist, and that was on the news. So, but when I was in the academy for MPD, there was no racism going on. It was all about just helping out, fighting crime, no matter who you are, and just protecting people. But I do believe that there are racist, people in the criminal justice system. There are racist police officers. Again, I'm not going to say which one. I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about. Because
look, I'm already here. Look, we've been best friends for like damn near 10 years now. So listen, I know exactly what you mean, or at least I have a general idea in regards to these certain ones. But now, mind you, it's not just within the criminal justice, field or within the criminal justice department. It could be elsewhere. But I feel like when it comes to what it really comes down to, especially when we talk about like criminal justice and mind you, when we're talking about criminal justice, we're not just talking about like in terms of how cops operate or how, the enforcement officers go about. We're talking about the entire system. So from everything from the cop going into say like the, lawyers to courts, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays, when they talk about criminal justice reform, they focus so much on the interactions that police officers will have with civilians or case may be, and that's definitely a part of a piece of the pie. But I feel like a lot of people try to separate that and try to take that away from all the other pieces of what makes the criminal justice system actually the legit just system that it is. Because perfect example, if heaven forbid, if a cop try to actually like get me in the jail for, I don't know, shoot, maybe I got like a tail light or something. I don't know, just something, just an example. Just, heaven forbid that if a cop pulls me over just because he's bored out of he or she might be bored out of their mind and be like, oh, you know what, let me just say he's got a broken tail light and get him to the system.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like I got to deal with that. I got to deal with a possible ticket or something worse. Then I got to fight that ticket in court, depending on whether that's like a felony or misdemeanor or a case may be. So one of the things that I want people to take from this is that we're not just talking about like the officer element of it, but we're also talking about the entirety. Because I do feel like that, it kind of goes back into, some of the things that we kind of learned together in like the criminal justice classes that we took in regards to the whole us versus them mentality, where so many people focus on only the cops aspect, which is true. But when people like I've seen it here, and I've been living in DC for about a year and a half now, and I've seen so many activists only talk so much about police ethics, officer ethics, which is very, very true. It's a crucial element of this. But if we're going to talk criminal justice reform, we can't just focus on like the officers per se. We have to focus on the entire system. It's just like it's just like a pyramid, right? Or it's just like a house. You can't go about like breaking into someone's house if you just only know like what the outside of that crap looks like. Not that I'm saying no one be breaking into no one's house, because that's a crime, but that's an example in terms of like how you can actually go about reforming a system, at least making some positive change, or a case would be.
Definitely. Oh.
What are some things that you would recommend for, or what solutions would you recommend to make our current criminal justice system much better?
Oh man, after hearing the news, I recommend that the criminal justice system needs to become more fair. As in, let's just say they need to treat people of color more fair when it comes to serious stuff. They need to stop, being soft, or basically just putting a slap on the wrist towards people who commit serious crime. Like, for example, you remember Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer, right?
Absolutely.
Of course, he's before the judge. So I'm kind of reading a little bit about it. I had to read it again, but many people are fearing, and I'm concerned about it too, that what if the judge is going to, put lesser charges on him? They're going to say George Floyd had too much drugs in his body during the time, which doesn't matter, because clearly we all saw the video of what happened. So see, sometimes people who commit serious crimes, they get a slap on the wrist, and the one who deserve to be put in prison for a long time, they get the slap on the wrist, and it's unfair. So coming from experience, have a perfect example. I lost a friend who lived on my street back in 2016 of December. Innocent person coming from Morgan State, killed by a drunk driver, head-on collision. The judge,
sorry.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. The judge dismissed the person's case. No time served in prison, and he killed him. The dude was only I was 24. He was only 21. He was only 21 years old when he died. Yeah. Upper Mark, yes. December 2016. Yep. I know
God.
that facial making right there. That's the same reaction that's the same face that I made when I found out. And
so let me make sure that I get this straight. So essentially, it was a car collision with the person who actually caused it, and the person that actually caused that incident from the get-go, he got acquitted. he didn't get no time, no fine, no penalty.
This happened on tour. I think it was on 202, if I'm not mistaken. It happened on 202, so it's
right up on see, man.
Yeah, 202. I wasn't sure if it was Walker's Park 202 or Largo 202.
Okay.
But it definitely was 202. You know, hit him. Person's, it wasn't fair. The person's gone. You know, family lost a son who was at Morgan State University, and he had a promising future. I think it was during that night. He was just coming from Morgan State for a Christmas break. You know, for the holidays.
That's terrible, man. I give true condolences to your friend, and that you know, it's examples like that really tick me off, because obviously in this particular example that you mentioned, it's not necessarily as an example of like what we typically tend to hear on the news, or at least it's not one of those situations to where, you know, it's not like, say, you know, a white officer shoots a, you know, African-American male, African-American female, or case may be, right? But it is one of those instances to where, like, even with this particular example, where you know that someone caused the incident to occur, and yet here it is, you got all the facts, you know, go through your whole due process, or a case may be, and you mean to tell me that you couldn't, you know, it makes some sense to a degree in terms of like why there might not be some possible lockup time, or a case may be, but at least have like a penalty, but at least have it set up to where, you know, the family of the friend who you lost years back, their family is at least able to, you know, reconcile, get like some type of penalty, so that the family of that recipient of that instant is able to take care of, like, you know, funeral services or something of that nature. And that's really one of my biggest problems with our current criminal justice system. Instead of focusing on, to what you point out, being fair, being transparent, really getting to the nitty gritty in terms of like real investigation, figuring out exactly, okay, this is what happened. These are the factors that came into this particular, these were the particular factors that came into like the trigger or the cue for this instant. Now that we have the facts, let's properly assess the, you know, the penalty, or at least to the people that committed that crime, or a case would be. Instead of it doing like that, like real authentic whatnot, it's almost like the complete opposite, right? It's almost like as if sometimes like police officers and even lawyers, because you noticed about me, Marcus, it's been a few times where I used to work with several lawyers going up in different internships here and there in Washington, D.C. And I'm not going to hold y'all. It's some lawyers who will actually be working to be as a lawyer simply because they actually want to get real justice, not just for certain people, but for all people. And then you got some people within the criminal justice system that will just be like, oh, well, you know, if you're not going to pay my quote, or if you're not going to, you know, pay this particular fee or this particular service just so that I can make my bread, or I can make my bread to take care of my personal benefits, or the case may be, then it's just like, it's nothing gets solved or nothing gets done. And so that's why I wanted to talk with you about this particular issue, because one, me knowing that you already have some experience, particularly with the police academy, but two, also to kind of get your input in terms of like, you know, why is it that we can get to a much more authentic and transparent criminal justice system, especially when it's like, to your point, literally any particular crime, not all, but the majority of crimes that are committed today, if they're not caught by a daggone phone, they at least caught by something. phone, laptop,
Oh,
tablets,
absolutely.
freaking, you know what I'm saying? People literally, it's gotten to the point where now like people wouldn't even be able to at least, speak or try to like help the person out that's being like
Right.
abused. It's like, for example, what happened? What was that last year? When that whole George, or was that either last year or 2019? When that whole George Floyd thing happened? You mean to tell me that not one single daggone person tried to at least push one of that idiot, that freaking officer off from having his whole knee into that man's neck? Man, that shit pissed me off.
Man,
and my fault for ranting, my fault for going off, but it's like it's situations like that. Why you have so many people? It's one thing to have people not trust, the police officers or patrol officers, or a case would be. But when you have a majority of a country, and don't get me wrong, it's not just black people that don't just trust the criminal justice system. It's a lot of people. Doesn't matter race, doesn't matter of ethnicity or sexual orientation, or in case it be. When you have a whole country that is issuing for things like saying, hey, we need to change in terms of how officers are being trained. We need to make sure that lawyers that decide to become a lawyer, they take say like a moral code test that actually can figure out, okay, is this person going to focus on being a great lawyer for the people, or is this person just going to be a lawyer because he or she knows that they can make a great paycheck or pay stubs within the next, or a high salary job,
right.
or where it may be. So it's a lot. I'm over here myself my
Nah, it's definitely tough because I felt the same way, looking back at when you said the George Floyd video, you said on how nobody helped them. Let me not cuss. How nobody helped that nonsense. The cop that did not use his common sense. Remember the video of that Asian cop, right?
Right.
That was like telling people get back. He looked like the good cop, but he did not. But during that day, he was not, because he could have yanked them off of George Floyd, and all of this could have been prevented. I mean, he was already in handcuffs. Why put your knee on him? Like, once you put a person in handcuffs, it's over. Just take him. Let the person see the judge or whatever crime he committed. But what happened that day, that was just horrible, and that showed on how everything just went downhill. Everything just went downhill, like, for real. So, when I saw that video, my reaction was, "Is this real? Is this real?" I had to take a minute to think that it was real, but when I found out it was real, I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, it's
fucked up now. Done fucked up now.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And I'll say this too. I pray to universe that there is a significant. Now, obviously, all great changes can't come within like instant or within like a day or two. But I really, really hope that whether it's a person that's working as an officer or lawyer, or even because criminal justice is so broad. It's not just a matter of like officer and lawyers. It's just there are so many positions that people can go about working into or getting themselves involved with just criminal justice alone. My particular, or at least what I'm hoping for, is that at the very least we can at least start to see more positive progress with criminal justice reform in a positive way. Right. That really ends up working out for the people and not just for a certain group or a certain race, where a case may be. But let me get to some of the comments real quick, because we got a lot of, hey, what's going on, Jeanette's Corner? How are you? Hey, hope it's right. Yes, all is good so far. How is your day so far? What did I miss? Oh, no, you're fine. So currently we are talking about the issues in regards to criminal justice reform, the current issues that are going on within our current criminal justice systems, and not just in regards to law enforcement, but also in terms of like with the court system, why lawyers are acting the way that they do sometimes, especially if they're not looking out for people. So feel free at any point to put down any comments or whatever case may be. What are some issues that you might have in particular? What are some particular issues that you may have when it comes to criminal justice or case may be? Speaking of that, Marcus, let me ask you something. So for the past 2 years, there's been a concept of defunding the police, so to speak. So what's your take on defunding the police? And when I say defunding the police, I'm not saying get rid of the police. Let me let that be known into this podcast right now. When people say defund the police, we do not mean get rid of the police. Rather, what people are saying when they say defund the police is that all of perfect example, and Marcus, you can attest to this. All of these equipment, military items, these tanks, these smoke bombs, these daggone robotic dogs that they starting to come out with within the next few months to a year from now, that although it might actually help them crack down on certain crimes, it is not needed. So that's what people mean when they say defund the police. But your thoughts, Officer Brown, on defunding the police?
You talk about defunding as in getting rid of the military stuff, like you said, the dogs and stuff.
Well, just more so of how, or maybe I should ask it this way: how, as a person that's into say in the police department or case may be, how does it make? How can I phrase this? In what ways do you see the concept of the police department and from a tourism, from a financial aspect? Do you feel like defunding the police that it's not a bad idea? You know what? Well, actually, I got a better question for you. From an officer's perspective, when you think of defunding the police, what comes to your mind? There we go.
What I think about defunding the police is just basically, taking certain, stuff that the police can do, just taking it away and stuff. With lots of defunding, if it continues on at some point, it would be to the point where if something dangerous happens, they can't really do much. So to answer the question about defunding the police, is it bad or is it good? In my mind, I would go with both ways because defunding the police, it could stop, police from going overboard, but it could be bad because, in reality, crime still happens no matter what. Even though COVID is still out here, crime is still going on. Perfect example, Baltimore City, one of the most dangerous cities in America, Chicago, DC, PG County, where I live at, with crimes, at some point, still going to need the police because, shootings going on, murders going on. I just saw a story about on how there was quadruple murder. People got murdered over a stimulus check. So it's it's both ways. So it's in between because, at the end of the day, every day, crime is still going on, domestic violence, shootings, just like in Atlanta. Some dude shot up 8 Asian women in Georgia. He was an active shooter.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I was reading that literally a few hours ago before because me, I'm always doing a little bit of research of the most, apparent crimes that are on news reports or news outlets. And then I'm also looking at thank God for social media because there's certain crimes that not a lot of people are even spreading to light on the news outlet. So I heard about what happened down in Atlanta in regards to, the Asian family literally a few hours ago before this live. And I was just like, dog, the heck? It is funny that you mentioned that because about 2 episodes ago, my very first episode, I had talked with one of my friends from college on the COVID relief plan in regards to the 1,400 stimulus checks that a lot of people are getting either this weekend or probably sometime next weekend. And it's just crazy to me in terms of how so many people are raised to be patient, or at least to be in a system where they can be obedient, and then the reward can be or $1,400 check. When in reality, people
Right.
should be raising people to be like, hey, don't just focus on this $400 check from the government. Yeah, that's nice. It's dope if you actually need it to take care of your bills, or if you already are on top of your priorities, and hey, that's what's up. But don't be so reliant on that only stimulus check to the point to where now, if you don't get it, or if you don't get some piece of the pie, or a case may be, you out here committing more crimes more than ever, or you part of the reasons why people can't even get it.
Yeah.
And now we got people out in the streets. We got people out in the streets breaking into people's homes and shit just to get like a piece of stimulus checks or whatnot, killing people, killing their own family, whatnot. It's like, bruh, what the heck is going on? Like, and that's my biggest problem when it comes to like criminal justice reform too. It's one thing if you're trying to change the criminal justice system, at least promote real criminal justice reform, and you're a person that now obviously we all make mistakes, but my problem with it is my issue is with the people who are hypocrites. They say that they want, criminal justice reform or a KCB, but yet you are the exact type of person that is continuously stealing shit, beating up on people, constantly want to put harm into people. It's like, no, how the heck you gonna say we gotta change the system, and you're a whole part of the whole daggone system that's not even damaging that person or people, but you negatively affecting the entire majority. So I just don't understand it. Now shout out to those who did, and this is probably going to be the last time I mention the stimulus. Shout out to those who did get the stimulus check. Hopefully you guys are using it to the way you guys actually want to use it, but just don't go going around doing all that big, wild, crazy crap and shooting people who hurting family, all that, because it's already bad enough. It's already bad enough. Let me get to some of the comments, Craig, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Don't know anything about that. Oh no worries. You don't have to be like an expert. You don't have to be. Let's see. So I'm such a girly. What, girl? You living your best life. You're living your best life. You ain't gotta apologize for being a girly girl. I like that. You ain't gotta apologize for that. I'm here to support. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming in here and supporting and vice versa. I definitely. Defunding the police. I'm pushing like the same, wavelength as you, Marcus. I do believe that there are certain. I'll say this: there is no reason in the world to why the United States government is giving, like, say, the police departments more money to the police departments over, say, Medicare, education, social services, things, the essential, services that, I feel like they can give a lot more money to. However, that also does not mean that we need to shut down the police entirely, because to the point that you mentioned earlier, even if we were in like a society where race didn't really truly matter, or a case may be, there will always be some type of crime. When you have a person that is in a very vicious or negative emotional state and an opportunity to do some messed up crap, it's when those two things intersect, that's when you have crime. That is pretty much the formula of a crime going on. A person that is on some bull crap and an opportunity. Hold up, let me make sure I'm in the camera, because I want to make sure that people see this. When you got a person or a perpetrator, or a case may be, and you got an opportunity that, that's over here, and when those two things intersect, that's when you get your crime. And that's essentially what's been going on. And it's really, and it's really one of the reasons why, particularly for people that are within like the Black community, it's one of the reasons why not only do we not trust cops, but we just don't trust the entire, not just the criminal justice system, but also the United States system. Because let's be real, we've been talking about criminal justice reform ever since getting a sense of reform in nation with criminal justice has been going on ever since human existence. but particularly from black people, I'll just say perfect example, since segregation, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so much cold cases that still go on, then like cold cases that are still not being able to get to some resolution because you have too many people that commit crimes, but you also have a lot of people that work within the criminal justice system that rather that are actually trying to like get things done or get things resolved, they want to make the issue be more magnified, if that makes sense. They want to maximize it. So that's, you know, that's my personal opinion in terms of exactly just to make sure. Do I see? Oh, here we go. Oh, thank you, Janae's Corner. Oh, by the way, everyone, if you guys want to go, Marcus, you can definitely check out this lovely lady's YouTube channel. She has a lot of great recipes that she actually enjoys. It's actually pretty dope. So definitely, I do appreciate you, Janae's Corner. I'm definitely appreciate you tuning in and listening to the podcast and everything, you learning as well. But it's no problem because this is one of the reasons why I came up with the podcast of Matters to the People, because we rarely see people. I feel like with most people, we talk so much about the what of the issue, but we don't necessarily elaborate on how can we eradicate the what of the issue. So like in my personal opinion, the best way we can go about actually achieving criminal justice reform is through three solutions. One, we need to start giving so much goddamn money to police and personnel. Okay, they already got enough daggone. I'm trying not to cuss here. They ain't got enough dag-nabbit on finances. Okay, that's number one. U.S. government, you need to stop giving all your millions and billions of money to police departments and military forces. Number two, it starts with education. Education, in my opinion, is the source of real power and real influence. So if they're not continuously trying to at least train people in every single aspect of criminal justice in regards of actually making sure that you're in this field to not only help people, but to also make communities much more safer, or a case may be, they gotta get out. Gotta go. Like, gotta go.
Get up out of here. Get up out of here.
Oh, yeah. And then the third solution that I would have in terms of just having criminal justice be more applicable is just follow the golden rule, man. Like if you're a cop or if you're a lawyer, like perfect example, if you're a cop and if you see that they're clearly, it's one thing if you see a person like rob a convenience store, obviously you got to do what you got to do because that person might have a gun or a case may be. But if you're a cop and you pull over someone that's on the highway and you want to pull them over, but you want to be on that daggone bull crap or a case may be to that person, even though the only crime that they committed was speeding, just follow the golden rule, man. Don't escalate situations just because you got a whole daggone badge or you have that, that training in terms of how to escalate things. Because I feel like that's where it comes down to too. I feel like there's certain cops within our country now that just focus so much on, oh yeah, this happened to me when I was younger. Or, oh yeah, I got bullied as a kid. I didn't get that much attention growing up, so now I can actually fight. It's just like
I do believe in that. Yeah, I do believe that I do believe that some, get into that position just to, feel like they the shit because they did not have a good childhood. And like you were saying, if they were bullied, they did not have I do believe, but not all, but I do believe that there are some that will do that so that they could be like, yeah, man, I can lock you up. I got the gun. I can take your freedom away. I could be the reason why you lose your license. I could be the reason why you go to prison, man. I got the power, man. That's how that's how they end up turning into bad cops because they get into that position for the wrong reason. That's not why you get the job. But unfortunately, some pass the polygraph, pass the academy, graduate, and boom, they had the freedom to have that badge and to work. So
Mhm.
it's sad.
So
It's reality.
right, absolutely. So let me ask you, Marcus. This is probably the last question that I'll ask you because I don't want to hold up too much of your time.
It's all good, bro.
But you mentioned a good point, which was, there's so many officers that will be so vengeful in terms of them like abusing their roles or abusing their power that they have as officers or as people that work within the criminal justice system. Do you feel like that's more? Do you feel like that's more so in terms of like their experiences, or do you feel like it's more so in terms of like the culture that they grew up on, like, or do you feel like it's a little mixture of both? Because me personally, I feel like it's more so in terms of like, yes, I feel like it can be a little bit of both, but when I think it over and I meditated on it, I feel like it's more so of a cultural thing because, like, perfect example, and for me, like, perfect example, if you're an officer that's 46, for example, this was an officer that may have grown up or at least started being an officer when it say he was, I don't know, say he was 18 or 19, 20 years ago, growing up around the time when it was like early 90s, going into the late 90s with everything that happened in the area with the LA riots. Tupac and Biggie Smalls, when they had their whole like huge beef of East versus West, or the case may be, going around that time frame and then adjusting to the new culture in a sense, in terms of them now being like, you know what, I remember back in my day, this is how we handle things. And now I'm gonna keep on still going with that. So, from your perspective, do you feel like the reason why there's so much issues with law enforcement now because of how like the cultural retrospects that they refuse to like adapt to the new times, or do you feel like it's a little bit more of a combination of that and with their own personal issues, like the background, the struggles that they go across when they don't have that badge on?
It could be both. I can't say this or that. I would say both because I can't speak for every officer out there. I don't know every officer out there. It's like bazillions of officers out there. So I would say both because every officer is different. You got the ones who had perfect childhood, probably were famous back in high school, college, and decided to be police officers. While you have those who had rough experiences or were just such and such, they became police officers. So it depends on that one individual who is on the department, with the teams and stuff. So it's really hard to answer that. So I'm gonna have to stick with both because it's
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Because I do feel like it's a little bit of both. I mean, it could be multiple factors as well. But when I meditate on in terms of why an officer might be acting the way that officer may be acting towards, especially now, it's one thing if an officer is actually doing their job and they're actually not just going about how they're trained. They have common sense. They know that, hey, maybe I should give this person just a warning because I know if I wasn't a cop, or I know if there was someone within my peers or a case in me that was going through this particular thing, they would handle it the exact same way that I would probably handle it. Hopefully that's the mindset of, or at least that's what I would hope. I would hope that those officers would have that they would have that they would have that empathy, if you will. But if there aren't more comments, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like we don't have any comments. But yeah, Marcus, I appreciate you hopping on here, man. Any final thoughts on this on this topic? Floor is yours. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, I'm with you guys. The criminal justice system can be better. It can step up, and prayerfully, when it steps up, the world can be at a better pace. So, I'm with you guys on that. I'm definitely with you guys. There are some things that are fair, and there's some things that are definitely not fair. So, again, it will prayerfully it's going to change, and there you go.
It will. I feel like over the next 5 to 10 years, we won't have to worry about having to worry about or pressing this issue of criminal justice reform.
That's right.
Because I'm already seeing a lot of progress, a little bit nationwide and everything. So, my final thoughts on criminal justice reform is just that I pray that we can get, more people into the criminal justice system that are more so doing it because they want to do it for the right reasons, which is not just making sure that they're good and that the loved ones are good, but also so that the entire community itself and throughout the entire nation and throughout the world are actually good, rather than them just being like, oh yeah, we're going to keep the status quo going. Like, no, we listen, times need to change. Okay. Look, to all you that one supporters that be supporting that wild Officer Crike, like, move on. Okay. Get with the times. Get with the times.
Exactly.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marcus, for hopping on to the podcast, man. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, because you could have been doing anything else. You could have been, I don't know, you could have been doing something else, but the fact you came on here, I appreciate that, man.
Great. It was great. It was definitely great, man. I thank you for inviting me out. Glad, I was invited to, share my thoughts also, man. Definitely.
Good, man. Well, you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. And I will, I'll definitely hopefully if I'm free this weekend, I'll definitely we should link up, man. Of course, definitely. COVID, it's gotta be COVID friendly.
It's a little rough, but definitely.
But we'll definitely talk, man. I'll definitely hit you up the next few years or so.
All right, that's a bet. Love you, bro.
All right, man. All right, man. So, shout out to my boy Marcus Brown, aka Officer Brown, for hopping on to this podcast in regards to criminal justice reform. I think it looks like we do have another comment. Hey, Angie TV show, how are you? How's your day going? Hey, welcome to the Matters of the People podcast. How you doing, Angie TV show? But I want to thank everyone who tuned in into the live of criminal justice system reform with my good friend, Officer Brown. I'm good, thanks. Good. I'm glad that your day is going well. Hello, Professional Grace TV. How are you? Professional Grace TV? Hope your day is going well. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, it does. It really, really does. So I just had one of my best friends who's also in the criminal justice system, and we just had a really, really great conversation in regards to, what are some of the things that need to be, changed within the criminal justice, what needs to be changed with the criminal justice system, what solutions that we came up with. What does the funding of the police look like as well? So I'm very, 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 very glad to see that a lot of people came to my particular podcast. So I definitely appreciate that. Definitely do. But I do have to end here because we are coming up close to the hour mark. But I will be back in live within the next 10 minutes, maybe even less than 10 minutes, because the next live stream that I will be talking about is probably a subject that you guys are definitely going to be enjoyed more. Progressive Grace TV says, where are you streaming from? So I'm in Washington, D.C. I have been streaming from my YouTube channel, AV Automatic Victory. I've been using this platform for about 2 months now. And so I pretty much go over, I'm very versatile. So I pretty much go over every single issue you can think of. So whether it's criminal justice reform, the problem with politics, sometimes I bring up a lot of basketball with my Los Angeles Lakers. I also just talk about any particular issue or case may be. So definitely. Jeanette's Corner says, thank you so much for coming at Angie and Professor Grace. Hope you are well. Absolutely. I definitely appreciate it. And thank you, Jeanette's Corner, because at the end of the day, we're all an entire community. So at the very least, we got to make sure that we're all taken care of as well. Good. I'm glad that your day was great, Professor Grace. But I am going to end it here, but I will be back in live within the next 10 minutes because the second live that I will be going on within the next 10 minutes is going to be on the 5 things that Black men need to do, not just for themselves, but also to create more positive and authentic relationships with Black women. Yesterday, I actually did a live stream on the 5 things that Black women should do to promote more positive experiences with themselves and with Black men. So today, I will be going on live within the next 10 to 15 minutes on the 5 things that Black men need to do to not only create more positive experiences within Black males, but also to create more positive experiences with Black women and the entire Black race. So let me go down to the comments. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Professional Grace TV, automatic victory. Absolutely. I would love that. Oh yeah, I would love that. When I go ahead, if you can subscribe to me, and then I can subscribe to you right back, and then we can definitely message each other within the next few minutes, or maybe you can be a guest in the live stream that I will go on within the next few minutes or so. That would be awesome. Absolutely. I would love for us to collaborate. Absolutely. But I do appreciate everyone that attended to the Matters of the People podcast. I definitely want to give a big shout out to Jeanette's Corner. Thank you so much for sharing this podcast and for allowing me to meet some new great friends and great people on here. And more importantly, thank you to my special guest, A. Marcus Brown. He was a huge piece for this podcast to come together. So absolutely. I'm married to a woman, but I'll support her. Absolutely. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just end the podcast right here. And then I would say probably about it's 3:42 Eastern time on my end. So I'll say at 4 p.m. I will go live on the 5 things that Black men need to do, not only to create positive experiences with themselves, but also 5 things that Black men need to do to create more positive experiences with Black women and throughout the entire African American community. So I'll see you guys within the next 14 minutes, and I'll see you guys there. Love you guys and stay safe.